Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary friends. If it's your first time here, welcome. If it's not, welcome back to Actors with Issues with me, your host Juan Ayala, bringing you another quick and casual chat with a delightful actor from the small screen, the big screen, or the Broadway stage. From the executive producers of The Amazing Race and Lord of the Rings comes the highly anticipated, action-packed, immersive new competition series, The Quest, streaming now on Disney Plus. And here to talk with us all about it is Prince Cedric himself. It's actor Elliott Ross. Elliott, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So before we get started in talking about the show, we always start with a rapid fire round of questions, a game called Getting to Know You,
All
and
right,
we always start with coffee or tea,
coffee,
stage acting or screen acting,
screen,
film or television,
film,
drama or comedy,
drama,
hero or villain.
hero,
What actor has had the biggest influence on you?
Joaquin Phoenix,
Good choice. What was your first non-acting job?
retail,
I don't miss it at all. I'm sure you don't either. What's the last show that you binge watched?
uh, Ozark,
What is a movie that never fails to make you laugh?
um, Jerry Maguire,
And a movie that never fails to make you cry.
Jerry Maguire.
Lastly, describe your most memorable audition in 3 words, and memorable can be good or bad. So that is up to you.
um, frustrating, uh, exhilarating, surprising.
So, as we know, no two artists' journeys are like. So, I'm curious, when did you first become involved in the arts, and at what point did you realize that you wanted to pursue it in like a full-time, full career capacity?
Well, I get at school, like lots of people. I kind of found my home in the drama department at school, and it was kind of the only thing that I ever really felt like I properly applied myself to.
Hmm.
Kept me out of trouble, and I just, when you kind of feel yourself get lost in something and it doesn't feel like work. That's what it was for me, and I just gave it as much time as I possibly could. And then when I left school, it it just wasn't really a choice. I didn't
Hmm.
make a decision to be an actor. I just was like, okay, this is what I do. Okay, what do I do next? And I just kind of got started and did the hustle.
And given that there are so many lessons that we learn along the way of
Yeah.
a career in the arts, what sticks out as something that you know now that you wish you'd learned earlier on?
Well, not everything matters so much.
Hmm.
Um, I think especially when I was starting out in my teens and early 20s, every single audition mattered so much, and um, every single moment felt like a really big deal. But it wasn't, and I think what I would love to tell myself is that you don't need to do things the conventional way. I've never I've never got anything in my career the conventional way, and
Hmm.
um, actually that I've been really creative in how I've navigated the industry and how I've climbed the ladder. And I think it's a very uh, yeah, it's a daunting world, and there are lots of people that are just not even. I was going to say lots of people just who will say no to you, but more to the point, more people that won't even see you to say no to you. And um, I think I'd encourage my younger self to kind of look more creatively at how you can work around that.
Mhm.
And there are ways.
So you play Prince Cedric on the Quest,
Yes.
and it's one of the many scripted characters on the show to sort of move the story along and guide the young contestants. What was it like playing a character within this fantasy world that was like created specifically for the show? Like, how did that feel different from other projects you've done?
Mm. Well, I guess it was very similar to originating a role
Hmm.
in a play. It was the same thing. It's like you're creating the character. And I think I had to work harder on this one probably than I ordinarily would, because it was an immersive experience.
Hmm.
It was we were living that in that world, and the contestants were kind of living there with us. So I think because of the improvised nature of the show,
Hmm.
I really had to do my work on the character, and I did, and I had help with it as well. We had an amazing acting coach, and yeah, it was cool. It was a great experience.
And given that it is such a big genre piece, it's like fantasy and medieval and all of that.
Yeah.
Is that more of what you, or is that side of the industry more of what you want to do, or do you want to stick to more grounded, character-driven work, or sort of just a mix of both?
Oh, I mean, I have a very open mind. I'd love to do more fantasy. It's so much fun. I think the great thing about fantasy is it is designed to be enjoyed, right? It's escapism. It's a place where anyone can be whoever they want to be and be accepted for it. And I love that about fantasy. The Lord of the Rings are my favorite films. I just you know, it was a dream come true to be in a fantasy show. But from a career perspective, I am very ambitious, and I think it's also important to diversify my career as an actor, and I want to do lots of different things. I want to work in every genre. I can't think of one thing that I don't want to do. So, as you know, that those decisions aren't really in our hands, and I just have to see what comes up, and strategically pick the right roles for me going forward. But open-minded.
Yeah. It's a slim pickings when you're early on in your career.
Well, it is, yeah.
Picky, it's like you won't be working. I'm curious if there is anything that went on during the production process of the quest that sort of added to your toolbox as an actor, or any experiences that you took away from it.
I think my work got better when I started enjoying myself. Because it was such a big opportunity for me. It was, all my dreams coming true at once. It was very overwhelming, but I put a lot of pressure on making sure the work was really good. Like every moment mattered to me in that script. And I think after, I can't remember exactly where it was in the process, but maybe after the first week, I was like, no, I've done the work. I can do this. I loosened up, and I was better. From what I've seen on screen, I got better the more I loosened up. And, maybe that works for the character, anyway. But, we always say that. But yeah, I think my going forward, I think I am telling myself that there are no wrong moves. Like you can't get a take wrong, unless you drastically screw up the lines, but you can't be wrong because you are that character. And I think I'm just gonna, what I'm doing now, especially in my auditions, is just like know that I've done the work, and then relax when I'm performing because it's there. And yeah, so I think that's the main lesson for me.
In the over 100 episodes that we've done now, we've talked about everything from diversity and stereotypes to mental health and self-care.
Yeah.
Especially during the pandemic, actors had a second to sit and take care of themselves. That sort of constant hustle that they had for so long. So I'm curious, what's an issue or an obstacle that you feel is not talked about enough that you would want to shed some light on?
Well, congratulations on 100 episodes.
Thank
That's
you.
Cool. Yeah. Well, you talked about the mental health thing. I think I can imagine you've talked about issues of self-worth as with actors. As I kind of talked about just before, it's the constant rejection, but also not even getting to the point where you can be rejected. But I think that it's like being seen or getting used to like not being seen, or something that I had to do a lot of work on in order to kind of make sure that my self-worth didn't continue to take a hit. I kind of want to be more specific with my answer though. So with that in mind, I think talking about financing for actors is a really interesting obstacle. And I think the finance element is very closely linked to your feelings of self-worth as an actor. We've all done jobs that don't make us feel particularly good about ourselves, perhaps. I think, especially as I'm kind of growing with it, you know, I'm in my 30s now, and I want to have stability, and I want to have, you know, I want to feel like I'm smashing life, and I want to, you know, I want to feel empowered by the work that I do. You know, I love working in all kinds of different jobs. I do loads of different things, but I think what I found during the pandemic that really helped with the self-worth issue was starting my own business. It ticks the finance problem, the box, of earning more money and being in control of my income, which one makes me feel competent, capable, in control, and that translates to my my acting career. You know, my auditions got better because, you know, I wasn't on someone else's schedule. I was running my own thing, and, you know, negotiating my own rates and getting clients and having difficult conversations sometimes with people, and, you know, smashing it and doing really well and promoting myself as something that wasn't an actor. And I think that I that happened during the pandemic, and it was such a difficult time for so many people. But you know, lots of us had the opportunity to kind of zone in on what wasn't working in our lives, and we could kind of, we were all on a level playing field. And for me, I kind of hit reset, and I thought about what do I need now to make this acting career really sustainable, because I yeah, and it was I had time to think about my own business, and I did it. And I really recommend doing that to other actors who might not have found their like stable and rewarding side hustle yet, because I know it's difficult for us to find one.
Yeah, I you know, similarly to you, I also during the so right maybe a month or two into the pandemic is when I started the podcast.
Mm.
And thankfully another podcast opportunity for an outlet came up, so I was able to leave my very exhausting job at a gym, which was opening up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
and looking like absolute a zombie for auditions and all of that stuff. Like, just, you know, I also had to sort of take a step back and evaluate, like, I can't do this job anymore because it wasn't helping. And it's sort of, again, like you said, evaluating that sense of worth, and like, I deserve better than this or more than this, or
Mm.
and just sort of taking a step back and evaluating, because, you know, again, the hustle culture, the starving artist mentality, I hate those things so
Yeah.
much. And it's so embedded in being an artist for some reason, and it can get frustrating because it's just, it's not helpful. You know, you're not doing yourself any favors, or your agents or your managers or anyone, by
Yeah.
going into the audition room exhausted.
it, it
And
it doesn't need to be that way. And I mean, my question for you is that, do you feel more empowered now that you run your own podcast?
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially since thankfully, being in New York, things are still like self tapes and whatnot. So
Yeah. Yeah.
there's not that many in person auditions, or they are like sort of more down the line. So being able to work from home and do all of that, and then just pop up my ring light
Yeah.
and do my tape or my
Yeah.
audition over Zoom is just much more stable, rather than asking to leave my shift early, finding
Mm.
someone to cover,
Yeah.
or, you know, again, rushing to do everything. Because, you know, that job I had before was like 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. Auditions are always during the day, they're never in the evening.
Mm.
And I just had to sort of succumb to what the business needed
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
what I needed.
I think what I found really difficult was having to find cover at the last minute all the time, and feeling like you're in the way. You're
Right.
causing. I don't like asking for things. You know,
Right.
you know, like, I like to save my favors for when I really need them.
Right.
And sometimes, yeah, you have to be selective, don't you, when you're working a side hustle, about
Yeah.
when you can be unreliable. And I find that all quite stressful.
So before we go, we always end with a non-rapid fire game. So the pressure's
All
off.
right. Yeah.
Fill in the blank. If I weren't working in the arts, I'd be.
Working in fitness.
What role have you had the most fun playing?
Prince Cedric.
What is the best advice you've ever gotten?
People don't remember what you say or do, but they remember how you make them feel.
And what's the worst advice you've ever gotten?
It's mostly bad advice. um, I, I can't remember anything specific. I think people advising me on kind of what to do with my body. Work out more, you'll get better roles, or like who I should and shouldn't write to. So someone once told me not to write to people because I wasn't. There's just like basically any rule that I have ever been given about the industry is the worst advice. There's no rules.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And lastly, in 10 words or less, what advice would you give to a young actor?
I actually, there's loads I would like to tell to young actors, because I think I do have a good insight. I've been doing it a long time, and I didn't go to drama school. So I haven't done the conventional route, and so I think with the kind of the work that I have done, and like I said, climbing the ladder and learning on the job, I think I do have a good insight on that. And I think what I would say is, one, there are no rules. Don't listen when people say that there are, because they're wrong. Don't worry yourself about the big dreams. Everyone wants to be a movie star or be on Broadway. Don't worry about that, because it's stressful and it's too big. Focus on the next step, and it doesn't matter what people think of your next step, but identify the next step, because if you're always looking for the next step, that will accumulate eventually. There's more you can do with the things you have in front of you than you think, and they're not always to do with jobs, but they might be to do with relationships, or finding mentors, or everything you do in this career is progress made. There's never anything lost.
Absolutely. Well, Elliott, thank you so much for joining us in the show today. If anyone wants to give you a follow on Instagram or anywhere on social media, where can they find you?
I'm at Elliott Ross.
Awesome. And folks, as always, you can give us a follow on Instagram at Actors with Issues. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for full video interviews at youtube.com/Actors with Issues podcast, or listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to tune into The Quest, streaming now on Disney Plus. I'm Juan Ayala. This is Actors with Issues, and we'll see you next week.